Hi, I'm Jerry Sandusky, president of the Sandusky Group. In this video, I'm going to share with you the power of story in impacting your next presentation. Several years ago, when my children, Katie and Zach, were both pretty young, I'd come home for dinner after work, and I knew they were downstairs playing in the basement. I was talking with my wife in the kitchen, and I wanted to let the kids know that dinner was ready. My focus was not on my tone of voice, and so I just leaned down, yelled down to the basement, "Katie, Zach, come on up here." And then I went back to having a conversation with my wife. A couple of minutes later, my children came mincing up the step, and I noticed them peering around the door. And they both had this look of real anxiety on their face. And I caught it out of the corner of my eye, and I looked at them and I said, "Guys, what's wrong?" They said, "Are we in trouble?" I said, "No, dinner's ready." Do you see the communication gap? My message was, dinner's ready. And their message that they heard was, Dad's in a bad mood, because I wasn't paying attention to my tone of voice. And if you have a big voice, your tone can really take off and take your message in a completely different direction. So we sat down and talked about it at dinner. We came up with this little game we call Tone Check. And when your tone doesn't match your message, I empowered everybody in my family to look at me and say, "Dad, tone check." Now, it'll really aggravate you when a 9-year-old girl gives you a tone check at the dinner table, but it keeps the whole night from being off course with a communication gap. And instead, it brings everything back in line, and you can enjoy your time with your family. Works at work just as well. Why have your staff think you're in a rotten mood when, in fact, your mind's just caught up in a major problem or a major difficulty or another issue? If your tone gets lost, there's a pretty good chance your message will get lost as well. Now, what I did with you there was I shared a story about my children and tone check to convey a key point, the power of tone in our presentations. That's the power of story. Pretty good chance you'll remember the story of me and my kids. I could have just told you, hey, tone's important, be aware of it in your next presentation, and you're not going to remember that. Stories have a Velcro property, a good story attached to a key point, and we remember both of them. And here's the key to using a good story. A story has to have 3 things: setup, struggle, solution. The setup was my kids were in the basement, I had come home, I shouted down into the basement. Those are the details. The struggle is some kind of a tension. My kids came up, they peered around the corner, they were thinking one thing, I was thinking another. That's the struggle. And then the solution was the game of tone check that brought us back together. When you use a story in a presentation, it needs those 3 factors: the setup, the details. Help me be present. Go to the exact spot that happened. Bring me along as a member of the audience. The struggle. Help me to feel the tension. And then the solution. That brings it full circle. Kind of like we've come here now. Leave a comment below if this is helpful. Tell me about some of the struggles, some of the solutions that you've had. I look forward to reading those, hearing from you, and continuing the conversation. For now, the hay's in the barn.